We are going to learn about rapid and slow landform changes. Here are some examples of some water and land features. The first type of landform change we're going to talk about is volcanoes. Here is a composite of a volcano. Our next clip will be of Mount St. Helen.
The eruption of Mount St. Helens on May 18, 1980, was one of the most dramatic geologic moments in American history. It was a Sunday morning, 8:32 a.m. Vancouver, this is it, was the excited call on the radio from David A. Johnston to his colleagues. Within minutes, the colossal eruption had caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damage, and 57 lives were lost, including Dave Johnston. For 2 months prior to that eruption, scientists with the U.S. Geological Survey and the University of Washington's Pacific Northwest Seismographic Network had been closely monitoring the volcano.
All the deformation on the mountain was local to the mountain, and even more local than that was on the north side of the mountain only.
In the nearly 2-month period before May 18, what was essentially happening at Mount St. Helens was that magma or molten material was moving up from some deep reservoir beneath the mountain up into the volcano itself. And it began to grow or form what we call a dome or a cryptodome inside the volcano. And that inflating body of magma or molten material actually broke the north side of the volcano and began to cause the north side of the volcano to expand out toward the north.
We were measuring the rate of northward movement of the bulge at about 6 feet a day, and we knew that wasn't so good.
On the morning of May 18, I was driving up Interstate 5, headed up to the north side of Mount St. Helens with some parts and some batteries for our time-lapse cameras. And as I glanced over at Mount St. Helens, it was a beautiful blue sky day, and the mountain was sitting out there, and suddenly I saw this mushroom cloud go up above the volcano and climb rapidly up into the stratosphere.
When I was down in the room where the seismographs were at 8:32 in the morning, and I heard a sound, and I just looked over my shoulder, probably just a split second after the big earthquake had started, and saw that this was something very large, larger than we'd seen before. Watched it for a few seconds just to confirm that. And then I ran upstairs to the next floor, up to the radio desk of the Forest Service, and called Dave. And we couldn't get through. There was no answer.
So I guess I had the realization right away that this was some kind of a tragedy. And on the one hand, it was this huge, exciting, and interesting magmatic eruption, and on the other hand, I was pretty certain that something terrible had happened to Dave. So it was a strange day for me.
And we were off the ground probably at 9:05 or something like that. I mean, it was really, really rapid, and got up to the point where we could really see the mountain well, I suppose between 9:20 and 9:25, something like that. There was this terrific, very vigorous vertical eruption column that was the stem of the mushroom or the toadstool that then blossomed out at greater height. And for most of the morning we saw this tremendous ash cloud roiling out toward the northwest, and I can only assume that was coming off of the big pyroclastic flows that were going off in that direction that later built the pumice plain. It was a very eventful morning, but it was sobering, because I remember thinking up in the airplane that Dave just couldn't have survived this, especially when we got around to the west side and saw all this ash headed in his direction.
On the morning of May 18, what actually happened, the landslide basically uncorked this pressurized body of magma and allowed it to explode or expand out towards the north very rapidly. This is what we call the lateral blast. It was a horizontally directed explosion of incredible magnitude. It caused this expanding cloud of ash, rocks, and gases to move out across the countryside to the north at speeds of several hundred miles an hour. The directed blast was really the most destructive event that occurred on the morning of May 18. It completely destroyed an area of 230 square miles, in the matter of somewhere between 5 and 9 minutes. It essentially killed every living thing within an area of 230 square miles, and it destroyed hundreds of acres of virgin forest, and it was an incredibly spectacular event.
The next rapid landform change we're going to talk about is earthquakes. The next video clip is taken from the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C.
We begin with those incredible new pictures just released this afternoon, and they chronicle a terrifying moment inside the iconic Washington Monument. That 5.8 magnitude earthquake rocking the East Coast last month, and the monument is still closed from what happened tonight. Finally, though, we get to see what it was like for the tourists 500 feet up in the air. Here now is our Terry Moran, who has been in Washington poring over those pictures.
Just imagine, it's an ordinary summer afternoon at the Washington Monument, and 500 feet up, the observation level. A ranger takes her seat, checks her phone. Tourists head down the stairs after taking in the panoramic view from the world's tallest stone structure. It's 1:51 p.m. Then, with a small jolt, the shaking begins. For a moment, confusion, wonder, and even though there's no audio on the security tape, you can almost hear them say, "What's going on?" But the shaking just won't stop, and it gets more violent. Here's another view. Dust and smoke and chips of stone add to the chaos. And as the debris starts raining from the ceiling, people flee down the stairs. A woman falls. You can see her feet. Parents grab their kids. The stairs are clogged with tourists. There's fear, but no panic. The shaking slows, but the great monument continues to shudder for more than a minute.
A fourth of the way down, we could still hear the building in front above us shaking.
Today, we learned from the Park Service how bad the damage actually is.
Another type of rapid landform change is floods. The next video clip you will see is a video of the floods taken this summer in Colorado.
Biblical flooding across Colorado. Residents said they've never seen anything like it. The image is just shocking. Homes up to their roofs with water. Rescuers using canoes to get people to safety as rivers rage with roads ripped out. And there's no end to this misery in sight. ABC News meteorologist Ginger Z is right in the middle of it in Boulder. Good morning, Ginger.
Hey, good morning. I'm standing at the bank of Boulder Creek, but as you can hear and see, still the last couple days been called Boulder Rapids. And let me show you something. There's some good news. This bench, as of 24 hours ago, was underwater, now just caked in mud. And this is what happens when you get a foot or 13 inches of rain.
Stranded and submerged. The Colorado landscape washing away as rescuers race to those trapped by rising waters.
It's like the ocean out here.
Dozens of homes, entire neighborhoods up to their roofs in that murky runoff.
Within 1 hour, it completely surrounded the entire house and we had current.
Some caught riding it out. Others plowing through the historic floods in pickup trucks. In Weld County, farms isolated on islands.
Never ever has this water been this high. I've got 3 horses. I hope they're alive. We had to get out so quick.
And look at those abandoned mobile homes, congested, toppled by the devastating waters. In Estes Park, this dramatic video of a woman desperately holding on as rescue workers zipline her to safety. And from inside this fire truck, the floodwaters bubbling over the windshield. Thousands evacuated from their homes, 4 dead, and more than 180 now unaccounted for.
The National Guard is on the scene. They're using choppers to fly people out of towns that have essentially been cut off from the rest of the world. We're also hearing from a man who got trapped after his car was flipped over by a wall of water. His rescue, as you can see right here, caught on camera. And ABC's Clayton Sandell is also in the flood zone this morning.
We have learned about many different types of rapid landform changes, from floods to volcanoes to earthquakes. The example in the back is pictures of tornadoes. The next video clip is a tsunami taken in 2004 from Thailand. many different types of rapid landform changes that you have learned about. They can happen at any time in any place.